Happy Election Day, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Well, the campaigns are over. Today is the day of action. Tomorrow is going to be the day of excuses or scrambling or delays or lawsuits. I don't know what tomorrow's going to be. We might have an answer. We might 24 hours from now be done with this thing. This thing might stretch on for weeks. But what we do know is the campaigns are now done. There's no chance for an October, I guess in this case, November surprise. And Scott Bairdell is my next guest from Idea Grove. As someone who does marketing for a living, how would you grade each of the campaigns' ability on selling their candidate?
Wow, on selling their candidate, maybe gentleman's C would be a generous grade. I think that in both cases they've mainly been criticizing the other candidates. You've got a lot of people who are what the pollsters call double haters,
right?
don't like either candidate and are voting for the one that
they hate least.
Yeah, they hate least or are scared of the least.
Right. There's like the lesser of two evils argument personified right there.
Exactly.
I think one of the great lessons is that we learned from this, coupled with 2020, is how powerful negative branding can be. A lot of people want to shy away from it because they think it's ugly. It's like, oh, it's mudslinging and no one likes negative ads. Apparently that works.
And it's always worked, which a lot of people think, we're very, very polarized right now, more so than we have been in most of America's history. But mudslinging has been true since the very first elections in this country. Jefferson hired someone to slander Adams when they were running in the second election. So it's always been there. It's just gotten worse and uglier.
So let's talk about when we're talking about branding and the lesson we just learned, how powerful negative branding can be, negative advertising can be. How does that translate to the private sector? I have to write commercials and do commercials all the time, so I'm trying to learn from this.
Well, I think it's a little different. I mean, in some cases, you as a brand can criticize the brands you compete with, but in capitalism, there's usually a lot of choices, and it's better to try to differentiate yourself in a positive way and say, why buy me versus the other guys? Whereas in politics, it's always, you're choosing between two things, and what it's come down to typically is you're more effective by getting people scared about the other candidate and all the bad things that will happen if that person is elected. It's just not negative. Advertising works sometimes. Let's say if there's a big 800-pound gorilla in a market and you want to try to cut them down to size or take them down a little bit. But in most cases, it's better to just say good things about yourself.
Yeah, well, like a good example of that, I think the most common one everyone can identify with is when you're watching your favorite show and then the commercials come on and it's like, at 10 o'clock on the news, what can kill your kid in the kitchen? And so that motivates people to watch, I suppose, so more than, hey, we've got a cute video of a puppy dog doing some human-looking things. Isn't it adorable? I think that's the greatest example that we can all relate to of the power of negative branding.
Well, yeah, the evolutionary scientists say that it's built into our DNA from the beginning to look out for threats, and we pay more attention to them, and we remember them more than we remember just neutral or positive things.
Right, and so when we've just all gone through 6 months of turning on the TV or the radio and hearing ads like, so-and-so, Senator so-and-so will eat babies. But like in the real world, I think you could like if you owned a shop that did oil changes, it wouldn't be like, hey, you can get 10% off with our veterans discount. No, you should say, not changing your oil can kill your Jeep.
Well, it's funny you mention that because we work with a lot of like IT consulting companies, and generally they go in one of two directions. They can go in the direction of saying, hey, hire us and we can help you grow your business because you can allow us to scale your business while you worry about the stuff you do. Or you can go in the direction of, you're going to be the victim of a ransom attack and all ransomware attack and all these horrible things are going to happen.
Wait, Scott, do your scary movie trailer voice.
That's the bad cybersecurity voice.
All right. How do they find you outside of WBAP, Scott Bairdell?
Ideagrove.com. That's my website.
Thank you very much. Scott Bairdell on The James Show again. All right, coming up next, I'm going to respond to some messages and emails I've got. People are starting to make the shift. All right, we're done with this whole election campaign. Let's talk about the aftermath. Will there be violence? What should we do? What if the vote stops? How do you respond to callers who've made some cases earlier? The discussion continues, and you can join it. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I respond to comments next on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I'm your host, James Parker. Forgive me if I sound a little excited. It's our Super Bowl today. It's Election Day on WBAP. It's the biggest news event that we're going to have all year. Heck, probably for 4 years. And the campaigns are over. Now it's action time. And then after 7 o'clock, the only thing left to do is count the votes and see who cries louder. If you want to join the conversation, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. A couple quick headlines. Number one, Dak Prescott's going to be out for a few weeks, so Cowboys, I'll see you again next year. I think I'm just done with these guys. My Sunday's just opened up. If you got any parties. Oh, and by the way, for the people that sent me party information yesterday, thank you very much. There's only a handful of people who reached out. Like Collin County Republican Party's having a big shindig. I think that was, up in McKinney. My friends at the American Jewish Conservatives are going to be at a comedy club over kind of close to Addison, like Montfort. I know. He's dead. Somebody's making Dak jokes in the other room. The Montfort and like where the old Valley View used to be, kind of that neighborhood. A couple others going. I don't remember the location, but send me your party. James at WBAP.com or a Facebook message. I'll get it out there. Also wanted to let you know that if you need help getting a ride to the polls, if you use Lyft, the NAACP will cover the first $20 of your ride. So you get 2 rides using the promo code NAACP Vote 24. NAACP Vote 24. And thank you very much to the NAACP for putting some money up. Thank you very much to Lyft for partnering with them. I give them grief when they're wrong, but I really like that program. I know they mean for that to help their voters more so than anybody else, but look, they'll help out some of our voters too. So NAACP Vote 24. You get maybe a free Lyft ride. There's been some concern about domestic terrorism or violence after the riots. Now, from the FBI and the feds and the report from MSNBC, you need to look out for those wild-eyed right-wingers. But in reality, we know the stores are being boarded up, not for people in MAGA hats. So that's another big headline that's floating around out there. If you got a comment on any of it, 800-288-9227. Polls close in Texas in 2 hours and 10 minutes. We are almost there. Do you think we will have the results tonight? If not, when? A lot of questions still floating out there. That's what makes it so fun. To the phones we go. This is Chris and Keller. It's Election Day on WBAP. What do you think, Chris?
Well, I was just going to say my brother's in the San Francisco Valley visiting our grandfather right now, and he sent me a message yesterday saying that across town in Oakland, they've got all kinds of businesses are boarded up in preparation for riots, I'm guessing.
Oh, that's so sad. The California people are scared of the angry liberals. That's unfortunate. I wonder how it got so out of hand over there, Chris.
Oh, I have no idea. We left there on purpose.
See, this is... Look, I don't want to harp on this too much. Actually, I probably should harp on it more. So many of the problems that we see on TV, and I'm talking about we, people from Bug Tussle, people from the middle of nowhere, that we see on TV are not in our lives at all. We've never worried about a riot. They've never had to board up buildings in almost every small town across America. And I don't mean to be like flippant or dismissive of other people's pain, but in some instances, it's kind of enjoyable. Oh, San Francisco, you're having a problem with liberals run amok? Gee, what's that like? Huh? Maybe
in 2020 during the Summer of Love, I mean, we had attempted stuff happen in Dallas and Fort Worth, and yet our local police departments dealt with it instead of just letting them do it.
Well, that's one of the reasons I thought Eric Johnson, I was suspicious before he ever made the announcement that he was more Republican than Democrat, is the way he handled that and the way he handled, because we had the worst of it all with the shooting for the Dart police officers that got shot at the BLM riots. You know, that was the worst place ever. But he continues here whenever they try and block the airport for the Free Palestine movement. He just arrested them, swept them right out of there. So we should kudos Eric Johnson being a fantastic mayor in that respect for Dallas, Texas. But yeah, I noticed that they have to board up stores more so in blue areas than deep red areas. I'm sure that's just a coincidence, Chris.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah, because we're the violent ones. We're the bad ones. All right, well, Chris gets it. Thank you very much for calling, sir. Great call on Election Day. If you want to be next, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Yeah, I got time to do this one. All right, I wanted to play you this. This is a Texan, or they claim that they were born and raised in Texas. They had to leave because it's so untenable here for liberals. I just want you to get their take on the election. Remember, see how much we're having fun and we're laughing and me and Chris are being all sarcastic. Listen to how serious and concerned. Some people think this is a life and death issue for them.
I just saw a video of Harris supporters lining the street, waving signs in Bastrop, Texas, and it has me completely losing my mind. I'm bawling.
Easy.
I grew up in Texas.
Me too.
My grandfather was a union organizer. He cared about people deeply. My grandmother was liberal. My mother, a social worker, liberal. But Texas, after Ann Richards, I'm 48. So I remember when Texas was blue, when Ann Richards had us at the best schools in the country. We were doing great. And then the Republicans, the Bushes, and the destruction of Texas. And at 18, I knew that Texas was not a safe or a sane place.
Yeah, it's not
a safe place for me. And I left, and I've been really feeling
she's a suburban white woman.
My extended family, my brother, who I've completely lost to the right wing. And I've really been feeling this the past couple of days. Just
stop.
The intense pain of losing people, never talking to them again your whole life.
Well, then talk to them again.
They don't believe that you deserve to exist.
I think they want you to exist.
They are hateful, racist, self-righteous, and it's not worth having a relationship with them.
All right, I gotta cut that off. She refuses to have a relationship with her family because they're bigots. That's what bigoted is. When you refuse to associate with a person because they have a different race or creed than you. You're being the bigot. They're self-righteous. That's why I can't talk to them. That's what self-righteous is. And she's crying, I'm not safe here. Yes, you are. You're a beautiful 48-year-old suburban lady. No one's out to get you. Oh, just hilarious. But look, listen how upset she's been convinced. That I don't know. Maybe we really are just bloodthirsty, evil bastards out here in flyover country. But boy, she doesn't like Texas, does she? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. I'm not even offended because she does. It's not like she doesn't like us. It's like she's scared of this caricature that she's created in her own mind, this own little hellscape of, yeah, Texas is real awful. Yeah, that's why people are rushing to get in here by the millions illegally. Sure. 800-288-9227. It's Election Day. We'll talk to a political science professor from SMU, Cal Jilson, next. So many questions. I want to hear some early voting stats. Will we know the results tonight? And also, coming up in this last hour, I'm going to introduce a new question. Should we get paid time off to vote? I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Happy Election Day. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. I'm James Parker. You're listening to The James Show. My next guest, political science professor at SMU, Cal Jilson, is going to answer this question first, but I'm also asking you a couple of things, too. Number one, will there be violence? Or are you expecting riots, especially if Trump wins? I mean, Kamala wins, there's probably not going to be violence. But also there's a push that says we should get time off work to vote. Voting day should be a national holiday, and all the employers of America should cough up the day, cough up the wages for the person, not have to go to work. You can probably tell by my sarcasm, I'm not a big fan of that. But Dr. Cal Jillson, what do you think? Should there be a paid day off on Election Day?
No, I don't think that's necessary, particularly since we have a couple of weeks of early voting that go through the weekend. So anyone who wants to vote outside the hours of their employment has plenty of chances to do that.
Boy, that makes it a no-brainer. All right, what if we didn't have early voting? What if we just had one-day voting?
Well, then I do think that there should be some accommodation to be sure that people who are legally entitled to vote get a chance to do that. And it would provide the opportunity for manipulation on the part of employers if they thought their employees weren't going to vote the way they thought best to not give them time off. So I don't think that's the situation we're in, though, so we don't have to worry about it.
What do you think about the specter of civil unrest from the election results?
Well, I'm really not very worried about that. The reason we had civil unrest in 2020 was that Donald Trump was in the White House and sat and watched for about 3 hours while the Capitol was sacked before action was taken. He's not in the White House this time. Biden would be. So there'll be preparation. Action would be taken immediately in Washington. And if there's some violence down in Tucson or up in Lansing, Michigan or something like that, it's not something I would worry much about.
Well, one of the reports we were referencing earlier on the show is in Oakland and in San Francisco. In that area, there was a report of shops boarding up. I mean, did they have anything to worry about?
Well, I think that there have been reports over the last couple of years at various places out in California of smash and grab kind of robberies, but that's not what people are fundamentally worried about. They're worried about violence in response to the election by people who are too deeply committed to be using their heads. And I really don't expect a lot of that. About 1,500 people went to jail as a result of January 6, 2021. That would make me think twice, and I think it'd make a lot of other people think twice, even if they're in a militia somewhere.
Right. Dude, if I was at the Capitol and the door was open and someone was telling me to go in, I'm like, I'm not going in there for nothing. I'll just look at it from a distance, maybe fly a drone in there or something. I don't know. I wouldn't even do that. How long will it be before we know the results, Cal?
Well, we're going to get piecemeal ideas of where things are going. The polls close at 7:00 on the East Coast, and that means that Georgia and North Carolina, half hour after Georgia, will begin reporting. And those are two states that Donald Trump has to have.
Right.
If they are very close, or if Kamala Harris is ahead, that's a bad sign for Donald Trump. But all eyes are on Pennsylvania because there have been $600 million spent on advertising just for the presidential campaign, 1.2 if you include the Senate race and the House races. So both sides understand that winning Pennsylvania is effectively the game. It's very, very difficult to see either candidate winning without Pennsylvania. And for Harris, it's the blue wall of Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. If she takes those and that district out in Nebraska, she's home. And if Trump takes Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, he still needs one of those blue wall states. So they're very, very close. I think it's in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. So either one of them could win. But we ought to have a sense, even if we don't have final results and nobody declares it for a couple of days, we should have a reasonable sense of where things are headed.
The Real Clear Politics average has the Texas race between Ted Cruz and Colin Allred as a toss-up. Do you think there's a chance Cruz loses?
Not a very good chance. If you look at that race 6 months ago, all the polling had Cruz up by 7 to 10 points. And over the intervening time, it's come down to an average about 3 normally. And that's where I've seen it most recently, although there are some down around 1. But, it's easy to get from 10 points down to 7 points down. It's really hard to get from 3 points down to 50% plus 1. And so it's not inconceivable, but I think it's unlikely. I think that Cruz probably holds his seat somewhere in the low single digits.
Do you think the Republicans are going to flip the Senate?
I do. I think West Virginia is already gone to the Democrats, and it looks like John Tester is down maybe 5. He was down a little bit more than that, a week or so ago. That's probably gone too. He has to explain how he managed to shoot himself once in Afghanistan and once in a park here in the United States, but apparently he's been able to do that. And then it turns, that's enough right there. Assuming nothing else strange happens, people are also watching Ohio, where Sherrod Brown is up just 1 or 2 against Bernie Moreno in that race. And there are some other close ones. So some people think that Republicans might have a margin of like 53-47, 54-46. But I think that it's probably going to be something in that 48-52 range in favor of the Republicans. And it would take Cruz losing this race for Democrats actually to be competitive, to hold it 50-50. And then if Kamala won and Walz was vice president, he would be breaking ties. But I think Republicans probably take the Senate and Democrats narrowly take the House based on some seats that Biden won pretty easily in New York and California in 2022.
Tell me that backstory on Sheehy. I didn't know that. I'm not really keeping up with the Montana Senate election, but that backstory sounded wild. Yeah,
right. Sheehy was, he was in Afghanistan as a Marine, special forces of some kind, and has claimed that he was shot maybe by friendly fire while in Afghanistan and didn't want to get one of his comrades in trouble, so he never said anything about it. But then there is several years later, like 3 or 4 years later, he's out of the Marines. He's back in Montana and said that he had a gun in a federal park, handgun, dropped it. It went off and shot him in the arm. He went for treatment in a hospital, and a park ranger came to record the fact that he had a firearm in a federal park. And
is that illegal?
And wrote him up. Yeah. And wrote him up. At least it was back then. I'm not sure what it is now. Probably not in Texas.
But this is the guy that's about to be our next senator from Montana.
Yeah, it sounds like. And, it's just a much better story if you got shot in Afghanistan as a Marine than if you dropped your gun and shot yourself in a park here in the United States.
Right, because that is suspicious. Who's been accidentally shot twice? That's a heck of a coincidence. And his name is Sheehy? That's not his pronouns?
Yeah.
You didn't have to answer that. Didn't have to answer.
That's his name.
There he is. Cal Jillson from SMU. Thank you very much for being a part of Election Day on WBAP.
All right, buddy.
Your thoughts, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm going to explain why I do not think we should get paid time off to vote. A holiday, maybe. Time off, maybe. Paid time off, heck no. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, and now we're simulcasting on KLIF as we lead into special coverage. Yeah, your normal broadcast day is going to be convulsed just a little bit because it's a special occasion, baby. This is our Super Bowl. It's Election Day. We're a News Talk station. Been doing this for, 80 years here? So we have some special coverage coming up starting at 5 o'clock. I mean, special coverage started with me. Who are we kidding? But no, election coverage starts at 5 o'clock. We're going to flip over to our partners at Fox News Radio. And then we're bringing in a dream team here. We're going to have the morning show host from KLIF, Clayton Neville, is going to be the main guy that's driving the boat tonight. And then there's going to be all kinds of adjunct people coming in. We have representatives from both sides of the political divide. We have a Team Red spokesman. We have a Team Blue spokesman. We have Raven Harrison, the conservative warrior, who's going to be in there just throwing haymakers. Just going to be her. She brought her broadsword to the studio. She is ready. She's going to be hilarious. I think that's... Just for her, I want to see what she says on election night, because that lady, she gets fired up, and a lot of people get fired up. But I'm like a dog. when I'm around her. You know how, like, if you get excited, just if there's another dog in the room, they'll get excited too. Like, when she gets excited, I get excited. I'm like, let's go get him, Raven. Where are we going? What are we doing? We getting treats? Where are we going? We going for a walk? So, yeah, special coverage starting tonight, 7 o'clock. 6 o'clock, I believe, is when Clayton is popping in. But you'll notice the changes at 5 o'clock when we go to Fox News Radio for their special coverage. Now, a couple questions that have popped up that we've really already dealt with in its entirety. Well, do you think there will be violence? We're amused when we hear MSNBC worried, well, you know, the FBI and CIA have warned threats of domestic terrorism, you know, from those evil, the right-wing terrorists. Right, sure. Right-wingers riot. Yeah, we've never seen that before, but look out. Could happen this time. So we were dealing with that. But the other question that's been floating around, and I heard a great half hour on this on Casey Bartholomew's show this morning, is this idea that Election Day should be a federal holiday, and not just like a holiday, like we recognize, hey, everybody, it's Election Day. But also people are saying that all employees should get paid time off for election. Dude, not just no, like hell no. Like, I just can't say no loud enough. In fact, all HELL, all caps on the no too. All caps, capital H, capital ELL, space NO. No! No, you don't get a paid day off. Dude, voting took me 10 minutes. And if you wanted to just take 10 minutes and schedule it, work it out, make it happen. What do you work 12 hours a day during early voting? Is that what you do? You work from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, and you don't get a lunch break where you could go vote? No. Here's as far as I'll go. I'll meet you halfway here. This is a democracy or a constitutional republic. Before anyone calls me, don't at me. I know it's constitutional republic, but you know what I'm saying. For the process by which we have to exercise our democratic voice during these elections, where we elect our representatives for the representative democracy. I think it should be a holiday, and you should have protection from getting fired for missing work for voting. There's no way in hell that I'm going to put on all the small businesses in America. You have to give all your employees a paid day off on election day. For one thing, it's completely untenable. It's just fantasy land. This idea that like jobs are just this elective thing that you choose to do whenever it's convenient for you. It's coming from people who either have never had a real career because they're poor, or have never had a real career because they're way wealthy. Because all of us in the middle know you can't just randomly have days off, and you can't just randomly throw in days off that are paid for by your employer. It'll sink you. Number one, what are we supposed to do about cops? We have a national day off where everybody has a day off and everybody gets paid? No, we're not going to have any cops? No, just no law enforcement on that day. It's an impossible ask. What about all the people that are in ER right now, that are in an emergency room? What about the people that need life-saving surgery or medical treatment? What about the people who are in the ICU hooked up to a ventilator right now? We just, leave the windows cracked, so they don't get too hot in there, and they have a little ventilation, and we just walk out for a day. What about farmers? You don't feed your pigs that day. You don't water your crops. You're just like, screw all these animals, let them suffer. This is the fantasy land. This is like when the people complain about, it's not fair that retail employees have to work on Black Friday. They should have a paid day off so they can spend that time with their family. You live in fantasy land. Paid time off. Stop it. See, they never see themselves. I don't know. What a loser mentality these people have. You never see yourself as the guy that owns the hot dog stand, that has to not only close down for business and not make any money that day, but has to pay all his employees a full wage. That's a kick in the teeth that most small businesses don't have the margins to just easily accept. I mean, think of how your household lives pretty close to paycheck. What if there was one whole day where not only you didn't work, but you had to pay out the money you would have otherwise earned? That might wreck your ability to pay your mortgage this month. Well, businesses aren't immune to the laws of scarcity. And people like to just think that they're doing nice things by passing laws and forcing other people to pay for what they think is a good idea. But that's not real charity. You're not being charitable when you do that. You're not being like, well, I care about my fellow human beings, unlike these evil corporate capitalist pigs who only care about their evil profit margin. You think you're the nice guy? If you're the nice guy, you would pay for it. Hey, if you have the day off, I'll cover it for you. But they never step up and say, oh, there's a problem. I guess I should solve it. There's not like, oh no, there's a poor person who needs some food. Maybe I should get them some food. There's a poor person who needs some healthcare. Maybe I should pitch in with some healthcare. There's a poor person. It's always someone else's money, right? They're so generous. These people are just guardian angels. They are the keepers of everything good and holy, just with your money. No, you shouldn't get a paid day off to vote. 800-288-9227. Go to work. Go to work. Dude, my sister's a teacher. They had off Friday. Why? I have no idea. Go to work. Quit coming up with excuses to work less. Quit coming up with excuses to be less productive, to be more of a drain on the people who help you feed your family. How about some economic literacy? That would be nice. 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. That's my thoughts on paid time off for voting. Yours? I'd love to hear it. We'll talk with Anthony Russo next from the Truth Will Set You Free podcast and get you all caught up as we run right into the end of Election Day. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3 and KLIF 2. Hey there. Welcome to Election Day. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP and 570 KLIF. It still feels weird saying that, because when I found KLIF when I was a kid, it was on 1190 for years and years and years. Then it switched to 570 KLIF, and it's still like I still call it Wet and Wild instead of Hurricane Harbor. I know they changed the name a long time ago, but I don't know, I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes. If you have any comments on Election Day, if you've seen any shenanigans, your voting experience, whatever, 800-288-9227. My next guest back on, Anthony Russo from the Truth Will Set You Free podcast. Are you going to an election watching party tonight, Anthony?
I am. I'm actually, you and I, we're going to be tipping bottles over at WBAP, so I'm excited.
You're going to be tipping bottles at WBAP?
Yeah.
You're going to be here?
I'm going to be there at the studio. I'm literally about 20 minutes away.
Oh, so you're going to be part of the special coverage with Clayton Neville and the whole crew and Raven Harrison and all that?
I am, yeah.
Nice.
I got the late call. I don't know what happened. They called to the bullpen last night, and now I'm tracking my way towards you right now.
Well, cool. They didn't call me. Oh, that's so sad. No, I'd rather have the night off and do whatever I want. I'd rather watch it in my underwear. I wouldn't mind being part of the special broadcast, though, because like right now, we're on two stations. We're on the two big talk stations in Dallas, WBAP and KLIF. So I'm just finding out that you're going to be part of our special broadcast. Congratulations, sir, making history in real time. The big question is, will we know the results tonight?
No. Do I want to? Obviously, I think all of us want to know the results tonight. If it is a decisive victory, I think we'll know. Arizona is the state that if Arizona doesn't matter, then we might know. Pennsylvania is also going to be very behind. If Pennsylvania is the determining state, which I believe it will be, there's a chance we could know by 3 or 4 in the morning, maybe, especially since their polls aren't closing till 10 in some counties because of some tomfoolery and ballyhoo that happened earlier in the day with the machines. But if I were to bet, if I were a betting man, I would actually say we'll probably not know until tomorrow at the earliest.
All right, so here nationally, we're all watching Trump versus Harris. Here in Texas, we're really focused on Ted Cruz versus Colin Allred, because really the fate of the Senate hangs in the balance as well. And then also, I am personally I have a very close eye on the race that's happening in the congressional district, the 118th. What congressional district is he in? The re-election of Hank Johnson. Are you familiar with Hank Johnson?
I know the name. I know that district, but where is that located?
You'll know it's deep Atlanta. It's the second bluest district in the Georgia congressional map. Okay. You'll know Hank Johnson from his famous quote in 2010 about Guam, the island of Guam, tipping over.
Yeah, my fear is that the whole island will become so overly populated that it will tip over and capsize.
Now, usually when I have that on the show, we just make fun of it and be like, oh, isn't he dumb? But the real lesson here is he said that in 2010. In 2010, he got reelected. In 2012, he got reelected. 2014, 2016, 2018, 2020, 2022. We have a guy here that's so dim-witted, he thinks Guam could possibly tip over. He's been reelected 7 times since he's displayed this amazing stupidity. Will he get another one?
Well, I mean, first off, good for him. He broke the glass ceiling for morons, which is really, I mean, congratulations.
Sure.
I do remember that quote. I didn't remember the name associated with the quote. Will he get? Here's the deal. We live in a world, we live in a country where it's not necessarily who votes for you, it's how you manipulate the voting beforehand. And if he's managed to win this many times, in what I do believe, although Georgia does a really good job getting their votes in on time, I do believe it is a sketchy state in terms of establishment Republicans and Democrats that somehow continue to do well, even though they shouldn't. So again, coin toss, I think just the same as the presidential election.
I'm almost 100% sure. I'm 98% sure this dude's going to win. And the lesson isn't that, well, some of our congressmen are dumb. No, the lesson is a lot of our voters in some of these districts are dumb. They don't care how dumb the guy is as long as he's on their team, as long as he's on Team Blue. He can be so silly as to think an island could possibly just be floating out in the Pacific. I don't know if he thinks there's like an igloo cooler under it or how it's floating. I don't know what's going through his head. But the voters don't care. I think this is an indictment more on that district of voters than it is on Hank Johnson, the fact that he's about to get reelected for the 8th time.
Well, of course. Think about it in the exact same sense. I don't know if you saw the video that's just been plastered everywhere the last couple of hours with Kamala Harris. You might have already talked about it on the air, with her showing her cell phone while she's supposedly talking to a voter when it turns out her camera was on. So it's like when you like, to me, that's like they talk about the disqualifying things of Donald Trump. The fact that you were just continually, blatantly lying to the American people, that's the same as Hank. It's the exact same thing. If people are just so deeply rooted in, no matter, there's nothing they could do. They could talk about flat Earth, and I could completely 100% still be behind them, even though I think that's ridiculous. That's just the political world we are in, and that's why people like him continue to do well. The same could be said for many establishment Republicans that I can't stand either, the Mitch McConnells of the world. It's the exact same thing. No matter what, people somehow continue to vote for them, and somehow, even in those areas when it seems like people vote straight party ticket, and that's how they continue to win.
All right, where do they find your work outside of the James Show, Anthony Russo?
Truth Will Set You Free USA is the best way to find me on all the social media networks. And hopefully you'll still be there when I get there to say hi.
Yeah, and you can hear him again coming up in about an hour and 16 minutes. He's going to be part of our special election coverage here on WBAP and KLIF. Thank you very much, Anthony Russo.
Take it easy, brother.
All right, coming up next, I'm going to play you one of my favorite montages of all time, and you're going to think this is delicious. You need to go get some Magic Shell to put on this, or maybe chocolate syrup, whatever your topping of preference is. It is the grand montage of all just the hyper-confident people who are predicting there was no way Trump could win in 2016. It goes about 2.5 minutes, and it's absolutely delicious. That's coming up next on The James Show. I'm James Parker. It's News Talk 820 WBAP and 570 KLIF. Hey there, welcome. We're in the home stretch for Decision 2024. I'm James Parker. You're listening to The James Show and a special broadcast for both WBAP 820 AM, 93.3 FM, and KLIF 570 AM. And it's on 96.7 HD2? Is that what it was on? Something or other. But we are going to continue with the disruption of your regular programming through the rest of the day. Starting in about, 11 minutes, we're going to go to special coverage from Fox News Radio. And then at 6 o'clock, we're going to flip over to some live warm bodies in the studio here on both WBAP and KLIF. And bring you some of the results. Now, we're switching over to local coverage after an hour of the national poll, the coverage, because really all you're going to get from 5 to 6 is some polls are going to start closing. The first polls close in 11 minutes. And that's when we're going to start. Actually, we should be right now, if I want to do some searches, there might be some, the exit surveys they do, the exit polling. We should be getting some of those in about now. So, they will have some stuff to report on. But after about an hour or so of that, we'll actually get some results from here in Texas. We're delayed by an hour because we have El Paso counties in Mountain Time Zone. So we have to wait on those guys to finish over there. And then that's when we're switching to the local programming because we have a lot to watch here. And when I say here, There's the big race for Texas, which is Ted Cruz and Colin Allred. There's a bunch of all the congressional seats are up. But then at the state level, you have state reps and senators and whatnot. And then the stuff that really affects you, we don't talk about a lot on WBAP, but I wish we could. So we have these horrible propositions that are on the ballot in Dallas, like STU, whatever all these amendments are. Every single one that I read through, and I didn't read them all, they were all just terrible. Just one terrible idea after another. And I'm not picking on Dallas. I'm just saying wherever you're at, if you're in a Frisco, if you're in like an Alvarado, if you're in a Cleburne, if you're in a Waxahachie, there's stuff that's on the ballot that I didn't talk about. I don't even know it exists, but I'll be damned if it doesn't affect your life. That's going to be the real important stuff. And that's the kind of coverage that you have to tune into us for. You love Fox News, but they're not going to talk about that on Fox News. You know, you might love Newsmax or OAN or some of these other little second tier guys, but they're not going to talk about that either. That's why we're here. So for that local stuff, that's still going to affect you far more than the outcome of who's going to be the next governor of Pennsylvania or whatever else they're talking about nationally. That's why we're paying some people, we're spending some money, we're putting together a nice little broadcast, we're bringing in the pros and some outside help to cover all this, because this is stuff that affects you. Now, this might be a new James Show tradition where every 4 years, I play the big montage of all the media members and the celebrities and the musicians and the politicians. Listen to how confident, listen to how condescending, just dripping with elitist condescension they are in this montage, saying in 2016 that there's no way Trump can win. And here he is, about to win again 8 years later.
Donald Trump, just last week, he confirmed to the National Review that he is again considering a run in 2016.
Do it. Do it. Look at me. Do it. I will personally write you a campaign check now on behalf of this country, which does not want you to be president, but which badly wants you to run.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
Is that people think that Donald Trump is a clown.
Donald Trump is a clown. I mean, does anybody seriously think that Donald Trump is serious about running for president?
Donald Trump, you know, he's a clown.
But likely moderator apparently believes that Donald Trump is a clown.
Which Republican candidate has the best chance of winning the general election?
Of the declared ones right now, Donald Trump.
Are they laughing now?
President Obama will go down as perhaps the worst president in the history of the United States! Exclamation point at real Donald Trump. Well, at real Donald Trump, at least I will go down as a president.
Listen to him cheer. Y'all are all proven wrong just right after this.
So basically, this is the beginning of the end for Trump.
The beginning of the end.
Beginning of the end?
This is probably starting of the beginning of the end for Donald Trump.
Donald, you're not going to be able to insult your way to the presidency.
The strongest person usually isn't the loudest one in the room.
So right now we have Hillary's about a 75 or an 80% favorite. We have different versions of forecasts to look at.
The poll has Hillary Clinton up by double digits nationally, 12 points, 50 to 38, a four-way race.
Clinton leading in Florida, Clinton leading in North Carolina, Clinton leading in Ohio, Clinton leading in Nevada. I could go on and on and on.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
Let's hope the same thing happens tonight. Thank you very much for tuning into special broadcasting on WBAP and KLIF. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show. Stay put. We're switching to special programming from Fox News Radio, and we'll have special programming throughout election night. It's been an honor being a part of history with you. I'll see you tomorrow from 2 to 5 on The James Show. I'm James Parker. This has been News Talk 820 WBAP and 570 KLIF.